Ok, to je bilo na hrvatskom, sada ću preklopiti u englesko, a možemo pričati hrvatski poslije. Ok, my name is Milan Gabor, and as I was introduced, I'm the owner and the director of the small Slovenian hacking company called Virus, and I'm a little bit tired. Why? Because I'm on the road since Friday, since we have been to BalkanCon in Novi Sad. Then afterwards I flew to Dubrovnik, gave presentation there, so I was back yesterday, and today I'm here, and I'm really happy to be here, since this is my second time in Varaždin. I remember my first time, but only vaguely, because I was like 8 or maybe 10 years, because at that time we were still living in the same country. So we made an excursion to Varaždin, and the only thing I can remember is drinking vindi, you know, juice. I guess it's still here, right? It still exists. I'm still existing, so, okay. As I said, I'm an ethical hacker. I really like enjoy flying the drones lately. Why? Because you can sniff a lot of Wi-Fi traffic if you're flying the drones, and really from far, far away. And just for a short notice, this is the location that I and my friends, my colleagues, we gave presentations. So you can see we have been all around the world. So I will put also Varaždin on this map. Okay, so we're gonna be playing a little bit with the Wi-Fi packets. So if you want to see your Wi-Fi packets, don't turn off your Wi-Fi. Because in Slovenia I have really bad reputation. So if everybody sees me, you know, the first thing he does, you know, it's like, turn off Wi-Fi. Why? Because it's really a lot of fun, and you don't have to touch any people, you just touch their Wi-Fi packets. So if you want to see, but even if you do it, I already scan some Wi-Fi packets that your device have been sending out, so we still will have some fun, but we will do it. Otherwise, we can do it in real time. So what's the agenda for today? This is it. So if somebody knows how to, let's say, read SQL, it's going to be like something like this. So we will be inserting something, selecting something, and creating views. So why it's visualization of the data so important? Because our eyes are really good at spotting the patterns, and it's our eyes and our mind. It's made so that it's really easy to notice really strange patterns and get some crazy ideas. So where is the solution? And what is the problem? Today I will be showing you how to use the big data in really simple way on 2 different cases. One is the Wi-Fi packets. Why? Because if you're scanning a lot of Wi-Fi, you can get a large amount of data, and if you need to see what's actually there, the big data analyzing is really helping. And some other way, in some other cases, which are not, let's say, more as ethical hacking, but maybe in incident response, if you need to analyze, really quickly analyze and dig deeper into some kind of Apache logs. So I'm going to be showing this in two ways, how to be really quick and really effective and really getting to the problems. First, if we play with a Wi-Fi packet, so this is a kind of Wi-Fi spectrum. So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you have seen your Wi-Fi packet? Has anybody seen his Wi-Fi packet lately? Sorry? 2 minutes on the screen. Yeah, 2 minutes on the screen, okay. But who's scanning the Wi-Fi networks? Who's doing this hacking stuff? One hand. Nobody else? So you might. Yeah, it's measuring. Yeah, it's you know, it's point of view. So you're saying. So if you're scanning, normally you see like this, right? If you use some hacking tools, you're stuck at the terminal window, and if you're using aircrack programs from aircrack family, you're normally stuck at this, you know. So, but with this, if you have really let's say busy Wi-Fi networks, with this your screen even gets too small to see that. So, but wouldn't it be nice to have something like this? So you transfer from this to this. Is it better? What do you think? Which one would you prefer? This one? Who's for this one? Oh, real hackers. For this one? Nobody. Okay, I finished my talk then. Have a nice time. Have a nice day. No, really. But why the big data? Because if you're scanning the packets and if you're saving them to somewhere, in real quick time, you get a lot of data. So that's why it's big data, and it's really matters. It's not the size, because normally says, well, size matters. Well, it matters in some cases, but it's even more important with big data how it's to use it. So I will show you how it's really can be done. So in the reality, we have just this normally. There is some tool if you're trying to Google from Vivek Ramachandran. He has something, but he's using SQL database and some kind of tool, but it's not that sexy. And if you want to play with this big data, definitely, since I'm not programmer anymore, I've been developing for 7 years before hacking my hacking life. We want to do this without any programming, so without writing any line of code. So what do you think? Is that possible? Yeah, okay, so I will show you. But first, where do we start? What do we need if we want to get some nice diagrams? First of all, you of course need hardware and a software. It's a perfect combination, but since we are at the security conference, I guess you already know that. So let's start with the hardware. Definitely, who owns Alpha card, Wi-Fi? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, great. Why it's Alpha card? Well, because it has a pretty, let's say, powerful thing. But you can also use some other cards. But you have to take care that it's the right chipset. Definitely, you need a USB cable. If you're, let's say, sniffing like I am, you especially need a long Wi-Fi cable, USB cable, and you need a power and you need a big screen. Why? Because if you want to visualize all this data, if you have some kind of small screen, you won't see almost everything. Then, on the other side, you need a software. So it doesn't matter if you're Linux, Windows, Mac, fan, whatever. But if you're going to some kind of exotic, let's say, platforms like Raspberry Pi, you might run into some kind of challenges, especially with one part of the software, and sometimes you need to compile a little bit by yourself, but you don't have to change any of the code. So we have a hardware, we have a software, and then we need to set up the environment that actually gets into that you will all this data scanned into the environment and you get the data. So another two things. So let's start with the building blocks. The first one is actually Elk Stack. Who has played with Elasticsearch and Kibana and some other stuff? Okay, so you know it. 3 parts. There are 3 parts of the Elk Stack. I won't go into details. I won't go into installing and configuring. But Elasticsearch is a search. It's actually search index, Logstash, and lately this building block that's called Beats. Before it was Logstash Forwarder. It's actually the parsing log. It can be used for different manipulation of the logs. And at the end, it's, let's say, most important thing for the visualization of this data that's actually lying somewhere there. It's Kibana. So for those that haven't been playing with it, these are the some... Yeah, it's not mine. So you can have such nice graph as this. So you can visualize whatever you want. You can visualize the databases. You can visualize the Apache traffic. You can visualize the syslog. It's really simple because it has Logstash and other components. They have quite few numbers of plugins. So if you really want to analyze, for example, RC, somebody is still on RC? Yeah, one. So you just plug it in and you can get everything that's what is going on RC. So as I said, First, you have somewhere Logstash server, you have an indexing engine, and you have the web interface at the end, and you have your computer. So if you want to set up an Elk stack, it's really easy. You have several good tutorials, so I won't go into the details, but once you manage to get it up and running, the next time you're going to set it up in like half an hour to 1 hour, you will have the working and running the whole stack. Of course, there is no, not only the good stuff with Elk are related, but also some kind of issues. First, there is no security. So if you're playing with Elasticsearch and Kibana, and you're just setting it up without anything, everybody can connect to it. So you might run into some kind of issues. And if you want to go to see what's actually out there, just go to Shodan, search Elasticsearch, and you will find several good resources of personal information. When I was doing the presentation last year in Austria, I just went through the Shodan, and I found some, let's say, really interesting medical data of some well-known people. There are problems with alerts. Well, the Elk stack is also now changing a little bit, so you have some kind of features, but for some of them you have to pay. So they're still under constant development. Now they're preparing the version 5. And some of the functionalities are lacking. So we're still waiting for those to appear. Maybe some interesting stuff is that now they also have kind of graphs. So if you want to play with the graphs, it's also very good possibility to do it with visually. Okay, so we now have our Elk set, let's say, set it up. But if we want to see the packets, we need to get data inside of this Elasticsearch stack. So for those who doesn't know AirCrackNG, it's actually software for sniffing the Wi-Fi packets and playing and the authentication. They have plenty of, this family has plenty of the tools. But when we have been playing with the AirCrack, we noticed that there were some problems. First of all, it doesn't speak JSON. If you have Elasticsearch or some kind of other data, you know, lately the JSON is kind of standard for the data input, so it doesn't speak. We tried different ways how to do it. We tried with parsing the output. We tried to parsing the CSV files that AirCrackNG produces, but we failed at every time. So now you're going to say, well, you said no programming. You said how we should do it without programming. Well, with visualization data, you don't need programming, but for input, we need to change the code. So we tried to change the code for AirCrackNG, and we actually managed to let's say, brush up our programming skills, and we changed the source code, so it actually, AirCrackNG also spits now the JSON out. We contributed to the main branch, but I checked the latest version and they still haven't included. But at the end, I will show you the URL where you can find this patch. If somebody wants to play it, you just patch the AirCrackNG and it will spit out the JSON document. Well, when we were coding, we also notified that there are some kind of colors. You don't see it, but the presentation is going to be posted afterwards, so you can check it. We ran into some kind of other issues because there was some strange barrier in the source code. It said that it only scans like 30 probes per device. So we changed that, so we can now grab more than 100 probes for one device, what your phones are sending out. And actually, the major part was the dump write JSON method. It's actually dumping the JSON to the file or to the some other stuff. So we ended up, after coding, something like this. So we have MAC addresses when we have first time seen it. So it's actually, this is the output of the error dump program. But let's see how this one works in a real time. So as I said, first, when you start, you're going to be ending something like this. This is where we have been last year in May or June. You get to set up the Elasticsearch. You have all the data. Everything is working. You see the data is coming real time in it. You have all parameters and everything. And now what? You have the data, but now what? So we didn't have clue that time. What can we do? So we started a little bit building and visualizing, and the end result of this one, it was like something like this. So this is actually the visualization of Wi-Fi traffic around us. So we built different kind of modules, since it is really easy to build it. So you can get really quick look into this kind of Wi-Fi packets that are running around us. And we, as I said, we made some really quick and effective demos. So if we want to see what's actually around us, so these are the Wi-Fi's with the strongest signals. We have also kind of information who is using what kind of encryption. And my alpha cards have seen around 441 different mobile devices around us. So, and this means that they have been just hopping around the channels and seeing what's in there. If I count, I cannot count until 400 people, right, here? No? No, but I have seen 400, at least 400 different devices around me. So probably this means also if somebody is walking nearby here and he has a really strong phone that's sending out the beacons and asking who is actually on the Wi-Fi networks, I can see this. So I can see also that FSec is using Ubiquiti Networks access points, and there are some kind of Samsung. Probably this is a access point made from the phone. And let's see who is winning. So Samsung is winning. Apple is running the second, and then the Samsung. But if you put together, the Samsung is still leader with client vendors. So your phones, your device, your tablets, your PCs, and everything is still there. But well, it's not so, let's say, not so sexy, this kind of data. But we can go through it. So you see, this is the fun part where it actually starts. Why? Because if let me try to put this a little bit more and see if this one will work. Let me see. Why? Because here you see, who knows what Wi-Fi probes are? 10 minutes? Wi-Fi probes. Wi-Fi probes, your device are sending out probes from your list of connected Wi-Fi devices that you have been connected lately, or I don't know, maybe some. Once I had a guy who had like over 200 probes, so actually he never deleted his Wi-Fi connections. But here you see that I found that some of the phones, they're sending out really good information. From this one, what can we get? If you're a hacker, from this kind of information, can you see can you get some interesting data out of it? Yes, what? Do you know something about this person that's actually where they've been, right? But locations, yeah. So do you think he's traveling a lot? Or he's kind of just staying home, or traveling a lot? Traveling a lot. So I know that probably this person, he has been also at the one security event in Slovenia. So probably because Termana Park Laško, this was the one conference in February. So, and he has been flying over from Vienna. He has been Šumbak, so Orogoro, Holitelija. So we can see a lot of it. You know, probably this one is it's coming probably from Croatia. Free Wi-Fi Čakovac, Hrvatska DM, Osteraj. So I know where he's shopping, what kind of bus he's driving. He's connected to the FSec. From this one, Zvonimir Netrokos. I know where he's drinking, what bar he's hanging out, where does he like. Let me see, meeting grouping, Puntarek. Let me see if this one is a little bit better. So, Antunovic, Kingdom. If you recognize your phone, you recognize the location. Go back one. That's you. Okay. So, you know, I don't know you. I don't know what's your device. Well, what is your device? But I know where you have been. And if you put this Wi-Fi addresses, there are some like wiggle. If you put the Wi-Fi SIT name, you can get actually the real addresses of the people. So real coordinates where actually this Wi-Fi is accessed. But let's move on. So you see, these are the next thing is when we started, you know, to dig a little bit into deep. These are the most favorite SITs. So at least 30 devices ask out for the FSec. But the more interesting is like who has Kuzma doma? Anybody? Because you see, with this one, you can say you can group people together. So if I know that somebody is working for, let's see if we try to doma, constantly this one, Rogos. Okay, so at least 6 people, you know, FSec organizers, but maybe if we find, see, I don't know where this one is, but you see who's hanging together, so you can actually group people together. So I don't know who's belonging, but I know if I click it here, I know I will get all devices, so I know he's using the LG, he's using the Apple, actually group people to see who is hanging together with whom. So it's really nice to have something like this. Okay, so you can have another just what's going on. You see from this one, Jadranka, Jadrolinia Free. I know that probably he has been to the island, you know, with a ferry, with Jadrolinia somewhere free. I know how many people are connected to the FSec, but since you're most coming from Croatia, so you're not connecting to the FSec, because I wouldn't connect to the FSec either on a security conference. So you're using your mobile operator. So that's why it's only 19 people on the FSec. So you can use it also as kind of intrusion detection. If you know that you can have maximum of 10 people, if somebody jumps to the 20 people, you know that your Wi-Fi password has been shared somewhere. So you can see who is the most active, and if it's open network, you can get there actually even the Wi-Fi IP addresses. And let's move to the last one, since my time, well, I still have some time. So this one, what do you think this one belongs? Because we have been speaking about the visualization of the data. Do you have any clue what's this? What is this? Port? Court. Yeah, well, it's a pie chart, yeah, but what do you think these data are up there? Yes? Well, let me explain it here. So if you go here, this is the SSID of the FSec. So we know the FSec is the name of SSID. Here, in this layer, we have the MAC address of the FSec. So in this layer, we have all connected clients to the FSec Wi-Fi networks. And here at the end, we have the MAC address of the phone. So actually, I know it's a Sony MAC address of the phone connected to the FSec, this Wi-Fi address. And we can do this. So Rogos is somewhere here around it. So I see also 3 clients that are connected. And also Kortneti Uret, probably somewhere here around, also connected. And these are all the clients. So I see, okay, they have what kind of devices? They have Samsung, they have Honghai, probably Samsung also, Apple. So I can do some nifty attacks if I know what kind of devices they're using. So it's really visualizing, and especially because Elasticsearch can offer like something like this. So if you click if you just choose the FSec, let's say, so we will have only the FSec. So at the moment, we're only looking the packets that are actually connected to the FSec, what kind of the probes they have been sending out, what kind of MAC addresses, so you can do filtering without any programming, without anything else. So how hard is to build this kind of the data? Well, it's not that hard. If we try just to go with this one, that's actually more, let's say, more complicated. It's just this, you know, just 4 different data that you need to select, and as I said, without any programming. The other thing, since 30 minutes is really short time to show it all. The other thing is you can do it same with the Apache logs. You know, it's pretty simple configuration if you want to use it, and it can be done offline. So if you have logs, who's still grabbing the logs? Who's using grep for grep logs? Oh, I'm not doing any grepping more. I just configured my system for the Apache logs with ElkStack. It just dropped the logs into some kind of directory, and it takes the logs, analyzes, and at the end, I'm getting something like this. This year, I was catching some bad guy that was actually hacking some website, and with help of this, and with, let's say, they provided me like 25 gigabytes of log files. You know, it was really easy, and you can have some dashboards built like this in a day if you know what you're doing. So you can just go and dive into the data. You see, okay, I know that he has been coming from this agent, from this system, and you can filter and dig into, and you can get really good results. If you want to do it, you can do it this also on a live system with Beats package. So you can just ship all the logs, and you can analyze it. But if you're going with the old logs, just watch the timestamp, because otherwise you will get the fresh events. You have to change a little bit, so it actually takes the timestamp from the old logs, so you can have all the history. Well, are there any problems? Because until now, everything was nice and good and, you know, visualized. Well, of course there are. Since the ElkStack Elasticsearch, it runs Java. So, you know, Java has been really hungry regarding the memory and other resources. You can have problems, but it's not always true, because we managed to run it on a Raspberry Pi. So you can run the whole ElkStack on a Raspberry Pi. So when we are in a, let's say, working mission, you don't want to carry your notebook with you. You just carry in one pocket, you carry the battery pack, in the other pocket you carry a Raspberry Pi, in front you have 2 antennas. You might look a little bit strange. Well, now in the summer, well, in the winter it's not a problem, but you can run the whole ElkStack on a Raspberry Pi without any problems. So this was the Raspberry Pi 2, but with the 3, it's even better. The only problem is that the Wi-Fi on board, it doesn't support any monitoring mode, so you still have to have some kind of Wi-Fi devices. For those who wants to play with it, you know, on our GitHub there is a patch for Aircrack NG. If you want to play with it, you want to mess with it with the Wi-Fi packets. If you want to go with the Apache logs, I still haven't managed to put the files and the configuration on it, but you can just stop me and bug me. So just to wrap up, because my time is almost up. So also for hackers, big data is a fact, you know, because sometimes if you have really big amount of data, it's really hard to visualize and get some really interesting data out of this huge number of packets or log files or whatever, or documents can be also done. So if you're looking for something similar to analyze and to use it, definitely the Elasticsearch it's a good way, but you need to be really good at preparing the data. So if you have a bad data, your outcome is going to be also the bad one. And the last thing, don't give up. Because we had the data, as I mentioned, last June, and we didn't know. It was like, what now? We have all this data, what now? So you shouldn't give up. After, let's say, looking at the data and trying to visualize, after 1-2 weeks, you will see the real potential of it. So, thank you very much. I will be still here around this day. So if you have any questions, I will be more than gladly to answer, even in Croatian language. So, ne grizem. So just bug me, because it's really nice thing, and it can really help not only the hackers, but also some people from incident response, or if you have some issues with the log analysis, it's a really good one. Okay, thank you very much. No questions? Only one. Sure. Sure. Well, I can say if you're going to the corporate networks, then this is not so applicable anymore. But if you're going to, because some large manufacturing, if they have, because these all devices and also some SCADA connected devices, they are still using web. But normally you cannot just walk into it. I know we have been doing last year one penetration test for one company. We actually found with the drone, so the Wi-Fi connected there was easy to break, and you can actually get into the SCADA network from there. But in the corporate, so if you just park the car outside on a parking lot and try to get into their Wi-Fi, well, we didn't succeed, let's say, in last year, but we had success with getting their hash passwords, because they had not proper configured their enterprise Wi-Fi networks, because they have been accepting all kind of cert. But but it's not always true, but in some cases, I can tell you from my experience, 3 weeks ago, they had really good configuration, but they had one guest Wi-Fi network, open. They said it's only open for the guests, only goes through the internet. But we noticed that they're having problems with their DNS. So with the right question, we managed to get all internals, domains, and IP addresses and map their domain only with the usage of their DNS, because it was misconfigured. So normally you cannot go there, but you can get the credentials. Because also company employees, they know they are not always using just the corporate Wi-Fi networks, but also with the guests. So you can get the hashes. If you try to use like kind of responders, you can get their guests, their credentials or hashes. So there are still kind of attacks, but not as let's say trivial as they have been, let's say 5 years ago. But still, it's an interesting way. So, and sometimes you would be surprised what you can learn from these all, just scanning the Wi-Fi around their network. So, thanks.